Hello. Can you guys all hear me? Can all 15 of you guys hear me? It looks like you should, so that's good. Perfect. So, yeah. Um I had a lot of feelings about this movie. I have only watched it once, but I have not stopped thinking about it since it came out. And I made a tiny little thing of notes so I could sound a little bit uh intelligent while I explain to you because I hate the idea of like just being a hater of something because if I passively just hate something, I will be honest about it. I do not intellectualize my pettiness anymore. I'm above that. um but I really walked out of Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness feeling very disappointed and a bunch of other things, and I wanted to kind of explain why, because I've seen a lot of people really like it, and disclaimer, none of this matters, this is just a movie. If you enjoyed it and you feel differently than me, yeah, you had a good experience. I'm simply expressing my own feelings about the film, and in extension, the kind of way that Wanda has been written in the MCU. This is not gonna be a full review of Doctor Strange 2. I'm gonna kind of just put that on Patreon, but this is gonna be more of a Wanda-centric analysis because she is kind of the character that you walk out thinking about. I will say that in my brief thoughts about the film, Sam Raimi is great at doing horror. He definitely was in his Evil Dead bag. The gore stuff was really great. There was definitely one scene, the what's his name again? Black Bolt scene that was like, whew, okay. Uh that was almost R-rated. So that was would love to see him and Jordan Peele do something like Spawn or Blade or something like that because that's just seems a lot more in his wheelhouse. As always, Elizabeth Olsen did a phenomenal job because she could act, so blessings. And the acting overall I thought was very strong. Wong was the best, as always. The supreme sorcerer, love him. Overall, the film looked really well, except there is one scene, absolutely, when America Chavez is running from that octopus, and you can absolutely see the outline of her head. I was like, that I've been watching a lot of VX stuff, so I was like, and I do think that the magic looked really cool in this film. To touch on America Chavez, because I'm not going to get too much into her, but I really strongly disliked the character changes that they made to her, and I think that it compounded upon the issues I had with the way that Wanda was written, and a lot of it is just I'm not a purist when it comes to adapting characters. I really am not. I have my things that I like to be consistent with certain characters, especially like, my boy Khalil, but I'm I'm open to things being different. To me, the big thing with America, like America Chavez in the comics has like super strength, she can fly, she's really fast, she's confident and strong and very in control of herself and her powers. And when by the time that we meet her in the Marvel comics, she's been working at being a hero for a while and has a lot of autonomy and strength. And she's also darker and has much curlier hair than she does in the film. So it's a compounding thing. It's like when I realized that she was different, I'm like, why isn't she punching people? Why isn't she fighting? It was just very much done in a way that made Doctor Strange the paternal focus, and that was not it for me. I really didn't like that, and I think a lot of people have a concern about the younger generations, the young Avengers being sort of like be made children in a way that reduces their queerness. Because America, you wouldn't know she was queer in this movie unless you knew that in the comics. So which is annoying. It's like she wears a pride pin and they're like representation. And I'm like, I do like that she had a pride pin, but like allies wear that too. So it's not even like that big of a serve to me. And yeah, I think my biggest problem is that she is very much a MacGuffin, and all of her strength and her vivacity from the comics and the source material was gone. And I think I've talked about how women of color don't get to be damsels in distress and how I don't inherently see that as a problematic thing. But I think when you take a character who is defined as like a confident lesbian badass and you make her the direct opposite of that, that's more than just making changes, you know? I've always kind of defended the Cassandra Cain stuff because I think Cassandra Cain, the comics, is written in sort of a very orientalist way in certain degrees, and so I get those changes. They're not perfect. I think that it's not a great Cassandra Cain, but I like that character, whereas America was just, like, not a character in this. So, part of why I feel the way I feel about Wanda, to get into Wanda, has to deal with how Wanda was written in the comics, her history as a character, and the issues I feel that really come to light with this film, and how the lack of having a entire Marvel universe, of not having the access to all the IP when constructing Wanda's character, finally came back to bite them because they're trying to do very big Wanda storylines with like none of the people that are involved with that. So, for background, because I tried to make sure I get my research. So was Wanda was created by Stan Lee and the Jack Kirby, and she first appeared in the X-Men #4 in 1964. She's one of the earliest female characters in comics, and her powers were originally being able to alter probability. And then over time, she became like the sorceress mutant, and she was the daughter of Magneto until that was done in 2015, the same year Ultron came out. And her major relationships in the comics were with the Avengers, Quicksilver, Vision, and her former canon daddy, Magneto, and to a degree, Doctor Strange and Agatha Harkness. And her powers have eventually evolved to the point where she became one of the most powerful characters in Marvel. So, initially, when she appeared, she and Quicksilver were initially part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which is Magneto's very Black Panther coded group, and they joined the team because they were trying to escape persecution very early on in the series because a lot of women in comics were written very passively. Wanda was very much just kind of like there. It was giving early Sue Storm. It wasn't great. And while she is established as part of like this villain team, it is under this entire thing of civil rights. And Magneto was right. I've talked about that before. So that was part of it. Under the writing of Steve Englehart, and I'm sorry if I got his name wrong, but I believe it's Englehart, he slowly, and this was in the 70s, Wanda slowly became a more assertive character. She actively learned witchcraft. Initially, when they were first appeared, they weren't Magneto's kids, but Englehart sort of brought that into the canon. And in a limited series between Vision and Wanda, they got together, they got married. Scarlet Witch became magically pregnant with the twins. And that was sort of like what was established, this big history of her sort of building her family, building these connections, becoming more of an Avenger, and becoming a much more active part of the Avengers. Then John Byrne came. So John Byrne took over writing um, this era of the Avengers after Engel left. And Byrne is responsible for Vision being dismantled and turned into an emotionless robot and their relationship going kaput. He's the one who's responsible for making Billy and Tommy hysterical pregnancies, and that they were constructs that were given life due to some collaboration with Mephisto. He's the reason why Wanda is brainwashed 3 times, 3 separate times by 3 different villains, and 3 different, like, evil entities over the time. And each time she gets brainwashed, she gets restored, but then because of the trauma of that, her mind would get more and more shattered. And she was always in this vicious cycle of, like, getting brainwashed, atonement. Getting brainwashed, atonement, ouch, my brain hurts. Oh, just FYI, I'm not looking at the chat just yet. I just want to get through this and then do the whole discussion because I think all of this kind of explains why I feel the way I feel. So yeah, so he did that back and forth. When Englehart was interviewed about this, he really made a really good quote that I have right here. And he said, sorry, I'm getting so close. It's like, I like all sorts of characters, strong women and weak men and weak women. Sorry, started that off all wrong. So he said, here are the characters I wrote for and their suffered fates. So Asteria, dead. Hawkwoman, depowered. Nova, removed. Hellcat, dead. Mockingbird, dead. Mantis, dead, I think. Scarlet Witch, children die, vanish, are lost because they're figments of her imagination. Um, and then he goes on to say that I hope to be an agent of change over the years to bring a healthier approach to women to the field, but obviously I've had little success. So essentially, like, he did that work of really fixing the character, adjusting her to be more active, and then that was all redone. And this cycle of abuse of Wanda's mind began. In 1996, Marvel was pretty much damn near bankrupt, and they relaunched a lot of characters. And when the Avengers were relaunched, it was under Kurt Busiek and the late George Perez, rest in power. And Perez wanted to design this much more Romani influenced look for Wanda. Like he gave her like bigger hair, like kind of how he does Wonder Woman's hair, bigger hair, a lot more intricate design that was a lot more Romani inspired. But it was too complicated for the other artists coming after him, so it was simplified. And Busiek is the one who made Wanda a chaos magic witch and made it so that her true mutant ability was being able to tap into magical energy fields and manipulating them the same way how her father Magneto could do that with magnets. So that introduced that element of her character, the chaos magic, etc. Then Marvel wanted to relaunch again in 2004, and they did so with the 2004 story Avengers Disassembled, written by the always controversial Brian Michael Bendis with art by David Finch. So in Avengers Disassembled, Wasp makes a remark that causes Wanda to remember her children, which is not explained how they even came back. Oh, thank you, letting me know I pronounced his name right. And she relives that trauma, feels betrayed by the Avengers for allowing Agatha Harkness to erase her mind for being unable to save them. And she just becomes emotionally overwhelmed and has this drastic increase in power because, of course, so she's going crazy. She's going crazy, everyone. And when she does, she kills Agatha and causes the Avengers to suffer their worst day by suffering by altering the minds of several characters, and it leads to the death of many different characters, including Hawkeye. The mansion gets destroyed. Wanda um, is found to be the reason for all of this. She's captured, falls into a coma, and she goes into a coma, and Doctor Strange is like, "Oh, girl, actually, her real power is that she can what did she say? Like, she can reshape reality, and like all of that stuff, like chaos magic doesn't exist, even though it exists other times. But basically, she just becomes straight a reality warper. So she's so powerful, but she can't handle it. And Avengers Disassembled is what establishes wanted to have these massive power surges. And Professor X and Doctor Strange can't control her. And they decided it's time to put her down, which leads to House of M. Now, I went out and I bought House of M and I tabbed the shit out of it. Despite the issues that I think this run has in terms of the larger issues of comics, I do enjoy the House of M story because I think it's an interesting look at Wanda saying like, fuck you, dad. This is your fault. So essentially what happens in House of M is that Professor Xavier calls together the remaining Avengers and the X-Men, and they're all like, okay, are we gonna kill Wanda? And Emma Frost was like, put her out, I'll bring the caps with me, because Emma about that life. So Magneto, of course, feels immense sadness because this is his daughter, and he's like, I fucked up my baby life. And Quicksilver's like, you have to save her. And then all of a sudden, while they're gonna go find Wanda, boom, reality shifts, and everyone is living essentially their happiest, best life. Um, Mutants are the majority. You have Beast is human but still has his mutant powers. Peter is married to Gwen Stacy. Uncle Ben is alive. Emma and Scott are happily married. Magneto is like Uber King, blah, blah, blah. But then there is this one character who actually go back. Wolverine can remember everything because he's had his mind also scrambled so many times that he can tell something is wrong, and he's essentially the Nick Fury. And he realizes something is wrong and starts finding ways and helps them find this girl named Lila, who is able to help them all get their memories back. And so they give Emma her memories back, Spider-Man his memories back. And this experience is traumatic for all of them. Yes, it was his wish to get all of his memories back, and he got them for Wolverine. So this is a traumatic experience for everybody because it's everybody was getting their wish come true, but had to deal with the fact that like this is not real, and the sacrifices that were made by other people will be erased by this, to the point where even Scott has this whole part where he's like, listen, I've always said restraint, 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 but we gotta go fight this girl right now. And they all think it's Magneto's fault. They all think that it's Magneto who did it because of course it's the House of Magnus. Then it comes out, just to slip around, because it's actually, I will say, this is a really good story, and I have a larger point about this that I'm going to make, but let me just get through the summary first. They go, Doctor Strange kind of taps and realizes like what happened. It wasn't Magneto, it was Quicksilver. Quicksilver was like, what if we just give them everything? Because he didn't want his sister to die because he loves his sister. Duh, they're twins. And he inspires her to warp reality. Magneto is angry about this, that using his name, like that he used his name to do this. And Wanda's like, first of all, Dad, we did this for you. I gave you everything you want, and you still mistreating us. You're still acting this way. All you want is for mutants to be on top. You don't care about me. You don't care how much damage you do. You don't give a shit about none of us. So you know what? Bet. No more mutants. And then basically, she doesn't kill them, but she removes the mutant abilities from the majority of the population of mutants. Which is really well done in the scene where like Emma goes to Cerebro and she's like, there used to be millions and now there's like some, and everyone kind of dealing with that fallout. House of M is like the Dark Phoenix saga. It's the most iconic run of this character's story. However, it is not well done at all if you don't have all the context, but we will get into that. So essentially, after House of M, they are dealing with that reality of like the mutants no longer existing, everything, people living with the trauma of like once a reality is reset, people living with the trauma of having to be reminded of what they had and what they lost. And it is really interesting, especially Peter Parker, especially Peter, who was like, I want to forget. And Doctor Strange is like, we can't do that. And he's like, I said fucking do it. Like, seeing Peter be mad is always powerful because he tries to be really nice, but that was a really powerful moment to me when I reread it. After House of M, the next big thing that we get with Wanda is Avengers: The Children's Crusade, which came out from 2010 to 2012, which retconned Avengers Disassembled. Let me take a sip of my smoothie. So it retcons Avengers Disassembled by revealing that all of Wanda's actions was because and all of her enhanced powers because she tapped into some secret energy that corrupted her and she was possessed, and that, it basically it was a way of, like, exonerating her and, like, removing some of her accountability from her actions against the Avengers and M-Day, and she tries to atone for her sins, allies herself with Doctor Doom, and excuse me, and then it also retcons Billy and Tommy as not being pieces of Mephisto's essence, but, like, lost souls who had been taken away by Mephisto. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, and then they were reincarnated as Speedy and Wiccan and are Wanda and Vision's kids. Then finally, the latest incarnation that we have in the comics of Wanda is based from the all new, all different Marvel extravaganza, which was from like 2015 to 2017. This was basically like following the Secret Wars, all the Kree, Skrull, et cetera, et cetera. There was a new universe that combined the 616 universe, which is the main Marvel universe, and the 1610 Ultimate Universe and put them both together. So that's how now we have Miles Morales in the main universe. It's how, you know, it's how we got them together. It's what gives us X-23 is a new Wolverine. It's what gives us Lady Thor. It was brings in the Inhumans. This is all of that. So it tries to bring in, it's also more diverse. And with Wanda, they make her no longer Magneto's daughter, which I say is just because they didn't have the rights to the X-Men then and they were being salty. Because to the point where, like, even though she's not Magneto's daughter, they still treat each other like they're a family. So I'm like, there is no point. There is no point of that change. So that's one in the comics. Now she's just a witch. She is not related to Magneto biologically. She is part of some kind of human experiments, which is exactly what they did with Ultron. So, yeah, not a fan of it. My big issue, and it's the same issue that I have with when people try to do the Dark Phoenix saga in one take, is that to do House of M, to do the Dark Phoenix saga, to do these big events, you have to lay a very deep foundation. You have to understand that these things didn't just happen in a vacuum. They happened after culminations of sometimes decades of storytelling. Like between her introduction and House of M, that's like decades of material, decades of trauma, even between the crappy shit that I don't like um with her getting her brain fucked up. That happens over decades of writing, her finally having this breakdown in House of M. And so to see it done so poorly in the MCU has been a problem forever. Because here's the thing, when it comes down to it, even though Wanda is very much defined by being an Avenger, she's mostly an Avenger, the Marvel universe has really linked up the Avengers and the X-Men. And without her being a mutant, without her being related to Magneto, without Quicksilver, you really don't have shit. And it's unfortunate because instead of taking the mistakes that the comics made with Wanda and fixing them, they just kind of made them worse. So we go to Wanda in the MCU, whose only saving grace is Elizabeth Olsen, if we're being totally honest. She's not a mutant, she's not Romani, she's not Jewish. Um, she is not at all anything. I think the big thing too is like I'm seeing people say that Wanda was introduced as a villain and was always meant to be a villain. And I don't think that that is a very accurate de- I don't think that's a very accurate look at her arc in my opinion because like Wanda also started off as a villain in the comics. The difference is that in the comics, you were dealing very directly with her being part of this mutant group because she is part of this oppressed minority in the world and looking for allegiances and safety. That's very different from joining like a Hydra camp. You know, like the very fact that they had her join this offshoot of Hydra has always been very weird because it's like they're Nazis, she's Jewish and Romani in the comics. It's weird. And the other thing too is that now part of her origin is tied to the capitalistic failings of Tony Stark, a character a character that never really has to deal with that aspect of himself, first of all, so I don't even understand that. But also, and this is just a petty thing of me, I really I think one of the things, like, I love Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, but sometimes it'd be blowing minds how, like, popular he's gotten, that he just takes up all of these roles and positions that were just never his. But, like, every time he's with Peter Parker, I'm like, "Can you just go? Can you just, like, be away?" Like, Tony is too involved, and Wanda's actions have nothing to do with Tony, and it's very weird to have this anti-capitalistic, anti-military message with Wanda's origin story that it does not have a linear narrative. Um, it's very off. Um, and so they have her join this group. She's doing all of these things, and her motivations are there, but it's not the focus of the story. And I looked into it and I was like, I was looking at clips, and like before WandaVision, Wanda has like 20 minutes of screen time in the MCU. And most of it, she's just like mollywopping people. And like, I see your point, Liquid World, but I'll explain why this bothers me, even though I know they're two different universes. I'll get into that because I think that is something that I hear people say, and I get it. I get it that they are two different worlds, but I have a point to make. But anyway, but yeah, like most of the time you see Wanda, she's like, Molly people at after Ultron. Her relationship with Vision not developed. There's like one scene and it's like fine, and whoop, there it is. There's not a lot there. So when we get to WandaVision, we finally get to deal with Wanda's grief, Wanda's trauma. She finally gets to be a fully bridged character. And I get it. She's not the main character of those movies. And now she gets to be this. So, of course, it's going to be different. The thing is, if you're going to take a character who is the second female character to ever join the Avengers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but after Wasp, it was Wanda, if I remember correctly. Someone who has been a huge part of the Avengers canon, someone who has a very intense history of her mental health and her trauma being used against her, things that people have been saying is fucked up since the 80s. That's the thing too. It's like there's no excuse. People have been saying that there were problems with the way Wanda's mental health and autonomy was written from jump, from when they started doing that shit. It's not new. So to have her go from whole WandaVision thing, end game shot of her holding the Darkhold, which if you don't even know what the fuck it is, it's like she's just holding a scary book. Okay, now all of a sudden she's the villain of this story. And again, it's a situation where even as the villain, there's a dubious level of her being under the control of this fucking book. So it's not even like, okay, she in her full villain bag, fuck them, whatever. There's this little out that they give her of like, well, she's not really responsible. She's possessed by Darkhold. They can't even commit to either one to me. And my whole thing is, right, if she's gonna be this powerful and this strong that she out here killing everybody favorites, snapping Professor Xavier's neck, which I am sure Jean Grey is cackling about that. That is end of phase 4 big villain fight material. To just have it in a one shot with Doctor Strange is bullshit. Like that's my whole thing. Is like, okay, we want to have villain Wanda, then let's have that be earned. Like Wanda goes from losing her children to finally having the House of M breakdown over like a long period of storytelling. Do that long period of storytelling. We have seen more stuff in we are seeing more stuff in I'm sorry, I'm seeing your comments and I'm trying not to get too stuck. I want to just get the point. Like we're seeing the multiverse become more and more of a thing. We still have to do stuff with Kang, which again, he's supposed to be the new big bad. They haven't done anything with him besides Loki. If you haven't watched Loki, you haven't met the big bad. That's also just not really great storytelling. Um we have Kang, we have Ant-Man coming up. We've just had the Peter Parker thing. We're dealing with this. If Wanda's power is the ability to warp reality, they have to bring in all of these characters. She can bring them in by very easily warping reality, and that could be a big storyline that combines all of these worlds together. Why are you not using it that way? Like, the perfect time to bring in the X-Men is not just a Professor Xavier cameo where Patrick Stewart is like, I'm gonna be in this chair for 5 minutes and then I'm putting on jeans and then I gotta go bounce. Me and Ian got dinner plans at 4:40. I gotta go. So let's just get it moving. That's the time where it's like, okay, we need to fight Wanda, we need to defeat Wanda, we need the most powerful telepaths, and you actually have the X-Men coming in to team with the Avengers and fight. I don't see how it's satisfying to have her come in and then do this. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it's satisfying. And I think that even if, like, I don't know, I'm seeing all your comments and I'm trying to like keep my basic thing is that like I get that Wanda has been since the very beginning of her incarnation just back and forth. She is a complicated character. And I just feel like despite how good Elizabeth is. And despite the fact that, like, yes, there are things that have hinted at this. It just reminds me of Danny, like on Game of Thrones. It's like from the jump, we been knew that Danny was a colonizer. Black, brown kids, we've been saying that shit. It's weird that she out here with the Dothraki. She ain't got no sunscreen on. It's weird that she out here being lifted up by all these brown bodies. It's weird as shit. But every time she would light people on fire, it was like, oh, bad bitch. And so, like, we're just supposed to be like, we're tripping. And then all of a sudden, at the very end, they're saying, oh no, all those times you were supposed to be upset about that. It's like, well, you didn't frame it that way. You did not frame it that way that I was supposed to be upset. I was upset because I'm black and I know what the fuck I'm looking at. But the white friends are out here shooketh because they did not know that we're supposed to be looking for Daenerys Targaryen up in here. And then when Dany actually blew up King's Landing, I was like, well, she has it right now because y'all was ridiculous. Um, it reminded me of that. Like Wanda being angry about losing her children, Wanda being pushed into this breaking point is definitely worth exploring. It's a great villain story. It could be a great villain story, but it to me, you need to give it more time. You can't just take this character that has been framed as a reluctant villain because the thing about it too, like even though the Hydra shit is fucked up, it's like she is not framed as doing it because she's a Nazi. It's framed as her doing it to deal with the American imperialism impacting her. So it's not just like she just did it all higgledy-piggledy. So to have her be that character and then say this is a natural organic progression is just disingenuous to me. And even with her taking over Westview, it was mostly accidental. Do I think that when she realized that she could change it, she kind of leaned into it? Like, okay, I get that. That makes her more morally gray. I think it's fine that she's an anti-hero. That works. But she lets them go. And I think that's also a very important part of that thing. She enslaves them, but when she really has to sit with what she did, she lets them go. She chooses to get rid of her children, of getting rid of this thing and going forward. And so how does that fit into this? And I don't want, and she's not a murderer. Like she's not out there just languishly like, yeah, I'm going to murder children. That's just like that's such a leap of characterization that doesn't make any sense. And it's to give a shorthand of something. And it's like, as much as I enjoyed watching, my friend Aaron said, Wanda's walking around like a mom trying to spend her Kohl's cash. As much as I enjoyed seeing her be so powerful, I don't think that people necessarily got that. Um, And I think we needed more time for that. I think if we have to ask this many questions about if this was a narrative continuation, then there's a problem with that. And as someone who's like, I just finished doing my Electra video, the thing that bothers me about how Electra has been adapted reminds me of why I hate how Wanda has been adapted, why I hate how G has been adapted. It's all of these stories about really interesting, morally gray female characters, and it just gets smushed up to talk about a man or center a male story. Because WandaVision was such a special, unique thing. And it was really about Wanda. And then they just do this Doctor Strange thing. It's like there are so many Doctor Strange stories they could have done that are centric to him and his narrative that include the multiverse, that include all of that. Like if he has to fight, like why do you even include him fighting an evil dark home possessed version of himself? If you're not going to make that the that's the villain right there. And that's how you have Wanda leaning even more into the Darkhold's control to help Strange fight his evil self. It's right there. It's right there. And then slowly over time, you see that progression make her evil, of her giving in to the greater good and then deciding, well, I'm going to use the greater good for my great good and get my babies back. Also, why didn't she just, also, Vision's out there. Light skin Vision is right there. Light skin Vision is out there in these streets. She should go get her man. I don't. And also the idea that she's also possessed by this book. It's like that's the thing too. I don't want female villains who are like the book made me do it, or like female villains who are like, I just got so much power, I just was started tripping. You know, I don't want that for her. She is so powerful. She is such a baddie. And Elizabeth out here acting for the entire Olsen family, and and they do this to her. So yeah, my thoughts are just that to me, this entire movie felt like a culmination of the fact that we have not had a full Marvel universe. And to those who would say, well, they're two different things, they are, but they're using these storylines. And that's where it gets to me. It's like, okay, you can adapt Demon in a Bottle differently, isolatedly, because it's a very personal story, right? For Iron Man. But when you're adapting like House of M, where literally the M is mutants, it's Magneto. You know, like literally you're adapting a story that has to deal with literally all of these characters, and you're like, well, they're not gonna be in it, they're not gonna be in it, they're not gonna be in it. Like it's just nobody. That's weird to me. Like, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And if you are going to have a chance to bring in those things, now's the time to do it. Like it's and it's also just like, sorry, now I'm getting a little it's um I just feel like, well, I know it's not exactly House of M, but they're pulling from House of M. I mean, they've admitted so. Like they're using those stories, those characteristics, those elements to tell this story, and you can't just pick from them and it works the same way. It's the same reason why you can't just do the Dark Phoenix saga without actually, making Scott Summers an actual character. Like that's the thing. They've been trying to make, yeah, essential to Magneto. Like you need Magneto to have a House of M storyline. Like you can't ignore that. Part of it is her relationship to her father at the time. Like all of that stuff matters. And when her family doesn't matter, when you don't spend enough, like her relationship with Vision was only really developed in WandaVision, to the point where people were joking about, oh, she's mad, she possessed an entire village because her computer died. The context of what that relationship is just not there. And like, so yeah, like you need to actually take the time to invest in these characters, and you can't just think that you can just copy and paste these big epic storylines and put them into these very small narratives. It's just not, it doesn't work to me. And it doesn't work because the people who it ends up the characters it ends up affecting the most are the female characters. Because the female characters were the ones who got screwed the longest and then had to get these storylines that made up for their entire run. Like the reason why we got the Dark Phoenix story is because for years they gave Jean nothing to do. And it's a way of them showing, oh, we had this character that we underused, whose powers we didn't appreciate. Let's actually like take the time to like not only give her power but deconstruct her era of her era of being an X-Men and then have it open up to be for the new generation of X-Men, which is why you get Kitty Pryde, the exact same arc that you get the Dark Phoenix saga. It's passing the baton over to another generation of female characters who will have more autonomy, who will have more depth to them than those characters were ever able to have. Like her death is for the life of these other women. And that is not something that you get when you don't do the entire thing. Anyway, House of M happened after Avengers Disassembled. So yeah. Okay, so those are my thoughts on things. So now I don't think I got any super questions. I did not. So now I will look at the chat and see what you guys thought. And let me know what you think. I know I saw one person up here who I was like, nailing the fashion. You were the reason why I even wanted to make this video because I was like, you know what? They have some points to make. Let me reread House of M and see what's up. Um, Literally just got out of the theater. Let's see. What are some questions you were asking me? I saw somebody like Tony. Yeah, Tony Stark is such a weird thing. Let's see. I'm not even in this game yet with your thoughtful views. Thank you. It doesn't feel earned. Yeah, it just doesn't feel earned to me. Like I don't think that they understood that character. Hey Lawrence. I don't think they understood the character. And I think like Raby clarified that he did watch WandaVision to take like the big character beats, but I don't think he understood all of it. And I think that like he took what he wanted from her and then just did what he had to do. I had to sneeze. Excuse me. She's earned, she's the villain. I mean, if you think, listen, Liquid, if you like it, then that's you. I do not care if you disagree with me. Like like I said before, it's just a movie. It doesn't matter. This is just a movie. I told you why I feel how I feel, and that's it. I don't the stakes are in hell. I don't care. It's not that big of a deal. I want to explain why I felt the way I felt. That didn't make me seem like I'm just being a hater. Wait, I saw somebody ask this. Well, oh, Waldron's the one who said he didn't watch it in its entirety. Well, then he is ridiculous. Dr. Dahomey, what did you think of Wanda needing Chavez to travel the multiverse when she's literally able to do everything else in the movie? Well, honey, that's what we call a plot device. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I hate everything they did with America Chavez in this movie. And it sucks because she's one of the legacy characters, the new characters that people like, you know? These legacy characters that have come are not often like accepted very easily because, you know, racism, but people really like she's only 14 people. Yes, she's only 4. Okay, you're trying to bait me. I'm not gonna like so like yeah, she is only 14 in the movie. However, that's not who she is in the comics, and I don't understand why you would adapt her that way. So to me, it's a thing like, okay, they want to make her different. She want to be 14, but why does she need to be 14? Like, what does that add to the story that her being an adult would be, unless the only thing that you wanted her to be is not competent? a scene establishing Wanda trying to dreamwalk to other Wanda's lives early, whatever it is. Well, I love how they were like, I can see them in my dreams. Oh, I don't have a an other self because I don't dream. Girl, that was so ridiculous to me. I was like, okay. I didn't feel like that made any sense to me. Do you think they would be able to do House of M and would feel right of it? I mean, the only way they could do it now is if they had to deal with some sort of multiverse calamity that brings the X-Men and the Avengers world together. They usually don't have a problem with repetitive storytelling. So I don't know if they'll do that. I don't think that that would be what they would do. I think they would take the name, they would do like House of M, but instead of it being about Wanda, it would be about like I don't know, just in general bringing the mutants together. Um let's see. Someone said something. Uh Someone said a part that I missed. Sorry. What did you think of the scene with America's moms? Okay. Again, I think about too, I hate to be that person who's like, well, in the comics, because I do think that things should be able to stand on their own, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing though. The comics are more progressive in some ways than the movies. And it's very hard sometimes to be excited and like yay representation about the choices that Marvel makes in the MCU when I know that the comics already did that like 10 and a half years ago. This is Disney doing. Yeah, I don't like I think I don't give a fuck. Like it's not my fault that it's Disney. Disney being homophobic is not my problem. Like that's the thing to me. It's like that's their problem. Like that's their issue. Like America, and the thing about it too, America's moms in the comics are scientists who die saving the world. In this, they got an accident from her getting sneezed on by one of the extra bees from Bridgerton, and she opens one of these star portals, and they get sucked into it. It's a complete down. It's a complete downgrade. It's a complete downgrade. Like, it's okay for like this is the difference between fridging and queer people just dying in a storyline. Queer people just dying in a storyline is okay, something happens, they die. Them just getting killed randomly, oh, they showed affection to each other. Now they're dead. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Oh, not love is love is love. I was dead. I was like, girl, if they don't put especially because, like, excuse me, put an Ash Nico coat on there. Put slumber party lyrics on that jacket. Like, it was really upset. The bees are actually coming for everybody's neck right now. Like, yeah, I mean, she's 14 for that reason, but I'm saying like she could just like also America Chavez is brown. She gonna look good for like 75 years. So like let's just do that. Um thoughts on consistency. Yo, the way let's talk about the Illuminati scene. Oh yeah. The whitewashing I kind of brought up earlier, but let's talk about the Illuminati real quick. The Illuminati child. Yo, why they make Captain Pike come out here in his kink at pride best just to get his head blown out in the worst way. It was that scene, I was like, gadzooks. It was crazy. Krasinski, I have never wanted him to play Reed Richards. It is like the most boring. The most boring. The costume did look fire. Could have had a brighter palette of blue, but the costume was fire. I did enjoy it. But other than that, I was like, girl, bye. Also, the chokehold that Captain Carter has on the white society, on my white sistrins, Please be free. Please be free. Hallie Atwell is in many more things. Okay? She is in so many more things. You do not need to keep putting her in this thing. I like whenever she throws that fucking colonizer shield, it just to the left, to the left. I I when she says I do this all day, like, yes, that was hot. I understand it. It's fine. I just don't care. It's at this point, it's like, yes, you have gotten more screen time than most women in the MCU, Peggy. It's time to go. It's over. Um, of course, Captain Marvel was out here again trying to boop boop boop. I love it. Um, but again, all she did was get mollywopped, I think. And then also, yo, when will my brothers and sisters get laces that why was Chiwetel Ejiofor's hair looking so weird? So weird. I mean, here's the thing. Did Captain Carter was she fired? Did she do what she had to do? Yes, she got her bag. She did what she had to do. Am I tired of seeing Captain Carter? Absolutely. I was just like, can some other woman please get a role? Okay. Can my white sisters in Christ please get a bag? Um, but yeah, the wig game was atrocious. I was like, she was hella still, still. I was upset. Also, I will admit, when the X-Men theme song was played in that big ass, Professor Xavier's wheelchair looked like one of those fake cars that you give a child, like a Fisker. Vroom vroom. I was like, yo, I died. And Patrick, like I said, Patrick had plans later. He had shit to do. He was not interested. He's like, I'll come, I get the check, I sit in this goofy ass chair that looked like a fucking Fisker truck, and I'll be there. But then after 5 minutes, like I said, me and Ian, we gotta go. I can't be here for that. Um, so yeah, that was just, and again, it's like you introduce all these characters. Some like I don't really fuck with Richards like that, but at the same time, first family of Marvel, respect on their name, Fantastic Four, iconic. You put them in there just to just get beat up. Wow, cool, groundbreaking. I'm like, all right, cool. And also like Professor Xavier needs to stop messing with female brains. Just leave ladies alone. Leave ladies alone. Um, he's so goofy. Oh, thank you, Sky Center. Thank you so much. It was so funny. Yeah. Yeah, also like you cannot have the gate listen, people say girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight. Listen, nobody gaslight, gatekeep like Professor Charles Xavier. Respect on his name. Okay? He will traumatize you from childhood and then blame you for it in your own mind. Okay? And if we're gonna have gatekeep gaslight, that's the king right there. You can't like people were saying that Rachel McAdams has something to do. What did she do? What did she do? Like she was just there. She lit one candle and that was it. I mean, good for her. How they give Rachel McAdams a worse wig in this movie than her iconic wig in Mean Girls? Where is the budget? Where is listen, they had my girl out here looking like Mira. Okay? And I was just like, what the fuck is this? I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed for her. Listen, even Jessica even Jessica Alba's wig in the original Fantastic Four had more motion than that. And they gave, on top of it, not only was it a bright budget wig, but it was a bright budget wig with bangs. Bangs. Disrespect on their name. Terrible. Embarrassed. Please stop. Please hire Black people to do your hair. Please. Why you letting my brothers and sisters out here like this? I can't. Her bien, just out here. Also, that relationship is just like, oh, I love you. Okay, sir, this is a Wendy's. Can you please leave? I think also, I think also the deep issue for me is that I could really not give a single fuck about Doctor Strange. I don't care. My mystic is Dr. Faith, DC bitch. So I'm really not out here for him anyway. So it was just like, too much. Too much. Yeah, it was so heterosexual. And also, you cannot give me that much heterosexuality while giving me erasure. Too much. It has to be balanced out. If the gays can't have it, neither can y'all. Zatanna, listen. If they fuck up Zatanna, why does Zatanna be Romani? That's my girl right there. I love her. And I think about it too. Like I love Sam Raimi. I like him a lot. He's never really been that great with women in his movies. So there's that. Okay, so people are asking questions about Romani heritage. Okay, time for me to put on my big girl brain. All right, so Romani people are actually, let me pull up so I can get the correct ethnic breakdown because I don't want to do this. So the one thing I will say is that in America, we tend to have a very black and white view of race and ethnicity because y'all constructed it that way, white Americans. However, it's a lot more complicated in Europe, and there are different white that we would consider white ethnic groups that are not necessarily categorized in the same whiteness that we would think of. So the Romani the Roma are an Indo-Aryan ethnic group. They're nomadic. They have a very huge diaspora, mostly in Europe, but there are some population in the Americas. And they are marginalized, they are racialized. The G word is a slur, which is why I'm not saying it. And they have a lot of ancestry in the Indian subcontinent. So I would not consider the Romani to be white in any meaningful way. They just don't benefit from whiteness, especially those who grow up in their culture. They just don't benefit from whiteness. And so Wanda in the comics is Romani and Jewish. And she was established as being Romani before she was Magneto's daughter and therefore half Jewish. So she's always been Romani. And they erased that in the MCU. They erased her being Romani, they erased her being Jewish. Why? They keep bringing it up though. Like Elizabeth Olsen has said the G word to describe Wanda at least twice, I believe. So it's very weird to me that that happened because again, they're so worried about Jewish representation in these movies. I don't even get that either, but I have a thing planned with a friend of mine to talk about Jewishness in that. So they made her like this fake Eastern European. Since when? Since ever. They've been pretty like that community has said it for a really long time that is a slur. And I think that's the thing too. Like she could be Slovakian and Roma. So I don't see why that was an issue, but they made that choice and never said anything about it. So yeah. Yeah, Joss Whedon really turned. Oh, thank you, Isaiah. I appreciate that. Um Josh Whedon really turned Wanda into what's that girl in in Firefly? That character that Summer Gal plays? River. Yeah. He was like, "You know that River Tam shit y'all liked? Let me do that again right here." Um yeah, so it's very River song. Oh my gosh. All right, we're gonna just please don't fight, okay? If you didn't know the word, now you know it. Please do not use it in the future. I know a lot of Americans do not grow up knowing it, especially because it was all over our media, and a lot of people still say it. But please do not say it. It is a slur. Um, Doctor Who. Well, we got a black doctor now, though. Yes, I'm very excited about that. I haven't watched Doctor Who in forever, but I love that actor. He's gorgeous. So we're gonna have this gorgeous black gay man playing the doctor. And we're gonna keep Jack Harkness 65 million miles from him. Um, yeah, there's a lot of Romani liquid that is all right. I'm gonna put you on timeout because that is very much a stereotype, and you should know not to say. Like that's the thing. Is like you're doing that. You should know not to say that. But yes, there are a lot of characters that are Romani not a lot, but there are characters that are Romani in comics, but that heritage is either like alluded to, like most popularly Dick Grayson, and of course the Maximoff kids. And it's really upsetting because I think that like one of the things that I find really interesting for those who read like my Superman articles that there's a lot the history of comics is very much a marginalized genre, but due to a lot of the assimilation concepts of immigrant families of that generation versus today and Dr. Doom, yes. There is an assimilationist tint that kind of is in comics that has made their heritage sort of um erased. And then that's why you end up with so many people who are very anti-Semitic but love comic books, even though everyone that made their comics are Jewish and immigrants. So Wayne Family Adventures is so good. Wayne Family Adventures is so good. I love it. It's so cute. I love seeing Daddy Batman. Oh, thank you, Unreal Punk. Yeah, I really love Superman. I think he's great. I get why people don't like him because they don't really write him well. But I love Kal-El. Thank you, Bianca. Um, but yeah, I love Superman. I wish that people lean into him being Jewish and an immigrant and a climate change refugee all together. He's the best boy. Oh yeah. I That's why I love Wayne Family Adventures because Damien is brown. Period. Well, all right. So Superman being Jewish, I'll just do this thing. So Superman is not literally Jewish, like in the comics, but he is 1,000% like an allegory for Moses. You know, The ship is the basket, the river is space. Um, it's all there, and there is sort of this undercurrent of leaving for survival, which is very much that. And the creators of Superman were one is of Ukrainian Jewish heritage and the other one is of Jewish heritage. I don't remember from where. I think Lithuania. Um, but yeah, so the character is very much a Jewish allegory. Um, and yeah, he's also a climate change refugee because part of the reason why Krypton gets destroyed is because of all the climate issues going on there. Um, but yeah, Ben Grimm is absolutely Jewish. Absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of really cool Jewish characters that have that established in the thing. There is a fun thing in the Darkhold comic that I was reading for Wanda where Superman's just like, "Oi," and I'm just like, I don't know if Peter Parker is canonically Jewish, but if he is, I wouldn't believe it. I would believe it. Kitty Pryde, yeah, Kitty Pryde is interesting because I think, oh, thank you, Toon Blue. Kitty Pryde is very interesting because Kitty is like I think one of the first comic book characters to really be like Jewish in a serious way where it's a consistent part of her character. I wish they would finally establish what ethnicities Rosh and Talia would be. Like I did that video about colors in comics like last year, but one of the things that's really interesting is that they're like, "Oh yeah, Raj is like this." Like they don't even know. They don't even know. They need to just finally categorize it. What they need to do though is stop fucking casting white people because we know he's not white. We do know that. Um Oh yeah, Kitty was very loose with her N-word privileges. Storm really had to give her a conversation. Um, I haven't watched Moon Knight yet. I want to, but I haven't. I honestly, I'm kind of done with Marvel content. I'm really just not that into it. I mean, I had to watch this for Wanda and My Girl America. But honestly, I've been more into reading the comics. Like I just started reading the Electra run because I was doing my Electric video that's coming out this week. But yeah, I just Marvel ain't really doing it for me like that. You know me, I'm a DC hoe. I love DC, and even though they be giving me bullshit, I'll be watching it. Ah! Electric video should be coming out on Nebula. What's today? Wednesday. Because I have a video. I have like two videos I have to edit today. I did a video about for Nebula about the movie passing, and then I'm doing a video on Patreon about why I think Clark Kent is a great allegory for passing. And I have read the Chip Zdarsky's run on Elektra, and I like it so far. So I'm trying to catch up on the comments. Hawkeye was good. Hawkeye was good. Which would surprise me, but I really did enjoy it. Oh, thank you, Thomas. I'm glad you enjoyed that video. Am I watching Young Justice? Confession time. I've never liked Young Justice. I didn't really like the first season, but I think it was because I was petty. I'm open to change though. Absolutely gonna watch the Echo spin-off. I love Echo. They did that character so much justice, which is like so good. That's the thing. When they do it right, it's like, oh my god, you're a genius. Then when they do it bad, it's like, but why'd you make this decision? What is up with this? Are you a Teen Titans fan? Absolutely, girl. When there's trouble, you know who to call. From their tower, they could see all. That was my show growing up. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna film some pickups tonight, and I'm wearing my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt because biggest Daredevil fans, Ninja Turtles. Aqualad is gay in Young Justice. I don't know if he's gayer, but what I like to see in a sequel to the Batman, Bat childrens. I want Bat children. I want him having babies. I want Robin. Robin. That's it. That's really all I want. I want Robin. I want maybe a good female villain, like maybe a good Poison Ivy if they have the cojones for that. But I want Bat family. I'm tired of all of this. Listen, that's the thing. One of the biggest things I had with the Batman is like there was not enough Alfred. Alfred was not in there. But listen, why do they keep making Alfred sexy? Y'all see this, right? It's like the same thing with Aunt May. It's like they keep making them hot. Captain America progressives should be a term. That would actually be a funny term. Hi, Lady Brave Knight. Alfred was always sexy. What you mean? Okay, period. Oh God, he said what he had to say. Yeah, I was like, even though he's problematic, Jeremy Irons as Alfred, I was like, okay. He was very, very attractive. Favorite Robin? Okay, time to get into semantics. Okay, so my favorite Robin is, of course, my good son, Jason Jamal Todd. The best character who fits what Robin is supposed to be, Tim Drake. The most iconic Robin, of course, Hot Boy Dick Grayson. But I love them though. Those my babies. I had like when they had those press on R VR Robin tattoos. I definitely had one. I had a bunch of them and just like had them on my arm all the time. I was like, yeah, it's my babies. Yeah, I love the Robins. They're great. I think they are the best example of what good legacy character writing can do because every generation has like their Robin. Everyone has their Robin. It tells more about you than even like your Hogwarts house, who your favorite Robin is. Also, I need Jason to stop thinking that he's straight. Oh, I love Stephanie Brown. She's a hot girl. I love her. Which Robin for the Batman sequel though? Okay. So, I think that Jason should be the first Robin in the Batman movie. Why? Okay. See, right now, is year 2 just passed. He's still learning. I think that the character of Jason would be a good learning curve character for this incarnation of Jason to show him what he did wrong that makes him more reluctant to have the Dick Grayson character. Personally, I think say. No, it has to be Dick Grayson. I mean, are you correct? Yes. Are you correct that if we're following the canon, it should absolutely be like Dick? Absolutely. However, I do think that it would be interesting seeing this incarnation of the Batman train with Jason Todd's Robin first. Because I think that it will be the thing that makes him a better father to Dick and Tim and the rest of them. That's can't see a version of Jason. Well, you know what? Once upon a time he did though. Jason tried to act like he's too good for it now, but there was one time that he was ready to put on them tidy whities just like everybody else and get information to go fight. He know what he gotta do. He used to dye his hair because originally Jason Todd was a redhead, but he was dyeing his hair so he looked more like Dick Grayson. That's not heterosexual behavior. I can see you not saying that I get that, Galactic. I just think for the film, of course, he could never be the OG, but I get what you mean. Katie, who would you like to see play Poison Ivy? I would really like to see an indigenous actress play Poison Ivy. I think that would be a great progression of the character. Trying trying to think who I think would be great. Let me look up because I think the actress that always comes to mind. I'm trying to think of her, but I definitely would say I would want indigenous actress to play. Let me see. What was that? Thank you, Matthew. What was that terrible movie? Was it called A New World? What is that movie? Uh, do y'all feel like Poison Ivy X is a respectable pairing, or are they just I listen. So someone asked me what I think about Harley Quinn show. I respect everybody who likes it. I get why people like it. It is not for me. I don't find it that funny. I also think it's got some weird, even though I know a lot of writers are on it are Jewish, it's got some really weird anti-Semitic humor that I don't really fuck with. And quite frankly, for me, I did not love that they were like, we want Harley to go through all this stuff first and then she can be queer with Harley. I don't think being queer needs to be, you need to be right in a relationship. Like she could also just say like, I want to date and fuck around with girls and guys. I don't think it needs to be like, oh, need to be in a relationship. I find that irritating. um but yeah. Okay, so Dim, I don't know how to pronounce her name properly, so I don't want to mess it up. But I think her name is the actress Korenka Kilcher. She was in that terrible movie, The New World. And she's currently on Yellowstone. Um, and she's an indigenous actress. She's very good. She's 32 years old. I think she would be fantastic. As Poison Ivy. See, I will say this. Harley Quinn to me is a character that I love, but only in certain writing. Only in certain writing. Because I personally, I fuck with Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn so good. I love her so much. Um, I think she's great. I also love Harley Quinn in the original Batman the Animated Series. I think she's also really amazing. I like Harley as she's written in the Injustice video games. I do not really like the kind of like, hi Maggie. I don't really like a lot of other Harley Quinn stuff because I think as a character she's kind of annoying. And I think that at a certain point she feels kind of like a parody of herself. So I thought really doesn't really do it for me all the time. I didn't follow Batwoman or Legends because I didn't follow Batwoman because one of the people from the Vampire Diaries produces that show and I don't like to give them money because I don't really care for that Julie Plec and all of her ilk. The only reason I even watch Legacies is because like I don't know, it was there. But I don't really watch that. And then I don't watch Legends because this is a very petty thing. I don't like Sarah Lance. I don't like how she ruined Laurel's storyline in Arrow. I don't like that the fandom was all over her ass all the time and like accepted all the sexism against Laurel. So I don't like Sarah Lance, so I don't watch Legends of Tomorrow. But that's just me. I never liked her from that show. Do you have a pick of someone who should play Storm in the new X-Men movies? I would love to see someone. I feel like there has to be. I know Michaela Cole is people's top pick. I do think that there should be somebody who is both African and African American who can do that, who do that role. Honestly, right now, as long as she dark skinned, that's it. Tall, dark skin, and can act. I'm not interested in anything less than that. If everyone else can manifest John Krasinski and their bullshit, I can manifest fine ass tall dark skinned woman. As you know, the thing about it too is that like I was talking to somebody about this, right? Everyone always says, everyone always says that Angela Bassett should have been Storm, right? And here's my thing: is Storm gorgeous? I mean, no, is Angela Bassett gorgeous? Absolutely, but Angela Bassett is not dark skinned. I feel like Hollywood's colorism has made it so that people don't really understand the color length of black people. Honestly, the person who should have been the OG live action Storm is Grace Jones, baby. Um, like that's Storm right there. Like you look at her, like that's Punk Storm. That's her. That is Storm. She can play Storm now, honestly, but so to me, it's one of those things where like I'm like, we need melanin, melanin. And yeah, I know how inconsistent they be drawing Storm because sometimes she look like Felicia Hardy, but the real ones know. Let's see. Well, the thing I feel like medium toned because I feel like a lot of people like do this thing like light skin is light. You're light skin, you're medium brown, and then there's dark skin. And it's like I feel like sometimes people just kind of like smush these two together, and I'm just like stretch them out a little bit more. It's a little bit more difference than that because there's a lot of people who will call an actress dark skin, and I'll be like, what are we comparing this to? Dark skin compared to whomps. And also there's undertones because I'm dark, but I have a very golden undertone. So there's layers to this. I was just sending Bolin Blue. I was just send him. There's this picture on Instagram of Sarah Jeffries, and in certain lighting, it was given Caucasian. It was definitely a big moment, and she's biracial. Um, but yeah, I really do want to see somebody who is very dark and very powerful and can command the authority that Storm has in the comics and just be fucking iconic. Dress her good because listen, I was working at House of M. Storm be having looks, not just passive looks. She just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm the queen of Kenya. Let me just make sure I get my fit." Like style icon. Would never miss at the Met Gala when she's summoning the elements. Let's see. I think I'm gonna stay for like 7 more minutes. So let's see. What else is there that people want to know? Lupita Nyong'o's already in the MCU as somebody else. I would rather it be just I honestly want it to be a new person. I really don't like that when we have black actors that do well, we just recycle the same four. I think it leads to a lot of issues of representation. And I think, not to get into it, but like, it leads to why there tends to be this whole conflict of like black American, black British, but this is because like when Hollywood picks like it's Avengers of Negroes to play characters, they're doing the rotation. They're like, okay, you, and you, and that reduces it for everybody. We should have options, um, and we should be bringing in new talent. Um, because look how good Ray Fisher was at Cyborg, and he was a new talent. There's plenty of untapped potential out there, and I would just prefer them to bring in somebody new. How do you think Black Panther is going to continue with Shuri? Probably with Shuri. I mean, I don't know how things would be. Oh, Yeti would be fantastic. as Storm. Again, still an unknown, but if they get an older amazing black actor, I'm not gonna be like, oh no. I just, um, I think they're gonna continue with Shuri. That is the smartest thing to do. I would not want them, and they can recast Letitia. Like that's fine. We've done it before. If we could replace Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle, a reverse Aunt Viv, there's nothing we can't do. Um, Showed up late today. I missed your opinions on Captain Marvel and Captain Carter. I thought the movie needed about 15 more minutes. Oh yeah, so I did say purple. Hi, first of all, thank you, Purple Lord, Leo a Nazi. Um, I definitely think that the movie needed to expand a lot more on its ideas. I did joke that about Captain Carter's colonization shield. I think that Haley Atwell is a great actress. She's obviously gorgeous. I get why so many queer girls want to date her. I just am tired of Peggy Carter as a character. And I thought Letitia Lynch as Captain Marvel, perfect, excellent, phenomenal, wanted in the regular universe. Um, that just made me mad that she's dead in the timeline that we have now. I'm like, the fuck? So she was phenomenal. I'm ready for her daughter to now get that shit and do her own thing now because Photon is the real one. Also, it's also weird that Photon's not in this movie, but again, they probably didn't care about bringing more Negroes into this production. A reverse Aunt Viv. Sometimes I crack myself up. Are you from the East Coast? Brooklyn all day. Photon is the superhero name of it's not Maria. Fuck, I forget. Let me I always forget which Monica, yeah, of Monica Rambeau. That's her. That's one of her many. She was first she was first Captain Marvel, first of all. Then she was Photon, Pulsar, Spectrum. They don't know how to name these people. Like they'll give you so many bad names. Peggy Carter is hot. I mean, that's the thing is like Haley Atwell is hot. She cute. Her lip game is popping. But when will the rest rise up to? I don't know if Chadwick wanted the role to be recast. I think that just the way surrounding why he died, it would be gross. I think they should just wait a while and honor that the same way that you would honor like a Christopher Reeve. I think it's that kind of respect that you would have to do. When our African sister, listen, when my girl Wanda Lakeisha Maximoff sacrificed herself, she was like, I love how she's like, this isn't a tomb, it's an altar, and she was like, nah, it'll be a tomb. Oh my god, I was like, girl, no. No, girl. I was very upset. It was very disappointing to me. But I think if Elizabeth Olsen wants more Marvel checks, if she wants to do it, she'll be back. No one's ever dead in Marvel. Listen, everyone says about what millennials killed. Gen X killed death in comics. Nobody dies in the comics. Nobody dies for real. Okay. The only one who's still out there really getting nothing is Uncle Ben's Rice. He the only one that's dead. Everybody else gonna come back. Nobody, no crime. So if they extended her contract, like the rumors say, she's coming back, we'll get some more Wanda. And I'm happy for that. I mean, I love the character. Like, I'll watch her movies, but like at this point, I pick and choose the Marvel I consume. Like, I'm not gonna go see this damn Ant-Man. Well, we'll see how fine that man looks in it, because he is very attractive. I might see it for him. Not gonna lie. But other than that, they're gonna have to convince me, especially because after Loki, first of all right, I said I was gonna leave, but let me talk about Loki for a second. Loki was so disappointing as a show. It was the thing that I was most excited for after Winter Soldier, which I will be doing a video about Winter Soldier because that show was disrespectful in a very Negro way that I need to discuss during Juneteenth. But Loki was so upsetting because it was presented in so many ways it could have been. It could have been so interesting. It could have been so good, but they fucking couldn't do anything interesting. I like Sylvie is a character that should be so good, but it just ended up being so cliche. I did not care for it, especially like when they were like, "Oh yeah, I might be bisexual." Yes or no? And again, it's a thing where it's like in the not even in the comics, in Norse mythology, Loki has sex with whatever and whomever he wants. He was pregnant as a horse. I don't need this shit. I don't need this shit. I don't need you to like it's so annoying. And like him falling in love with the female. Oh, thank you, Ben. Him falling in love with like his own self would have been great, but it has to be a lady. When Thick Thor is right there, first of all, let's be real. We all know that if he's gonna fall in love with a version of himself, it was gonna be the one that was most like Thor. Okay, so it was very upsetting, especially because and like so I don't get petty about hair color. I tend not to do that because it's silly, but there are two people whose hair I do not like being fucked with. And that is my good sis, Lois Lane, brunette locks all day, and Lady Loki, ebony haired evil queen. Don't know what this blonde shit came from. Don't like it, don't approve of it. I rebuke it in only a petty way because it's not a real criticism. I just don't like it. um anyway, I did not care. Female Lokis were it's so Wanda's hair also keeps changing. What is that? Like why can't she can't even be a redhead. She can't be even a marginalized hair color. I know we black people are appropriating all the redhead roles, but that's different. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this hour and a half live stream. This was really fun. This is the most people I've had like consistently in for a stream. It was really fun doing this. I really liked everyone's opinions coming together. And if you like the movie, congratulations. I'm so glad that you have that. And I'll just say in conclusion, you know, the Scarlet Karen, it could be a dynamic, fulfilling, amazing character. But if she's just a Coles Cash Karen, that really isn't what my spirit wants. It isn't what my vibe wants. It isn't what I think she deserves, you know? And on Mother's Day weekend, we have to watch Wanda struggle to get her kids back. Ain't that a bitch?